Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session, looking at nobody and somebody. Or more helpfully as a title, with the true chronicle history of Elydure, who was fortunately 3 times crowned King of England. The true copy thereof, as it hath been acted by the Queen's Majesty's servants. This is, sort of history play. There seems to be definitely a history play element to it. There is also an interesting plot involving nobody and somebody. Nobody is a name of somebody, and somebody is the name of some nobody. So it's all very fun times are going to be had. It's not a long play. We're doing it in 2 sessions. It's an interesting one. It's written sometime between 1603 and 1606. Probably to the latter end of that is the most plausible. Performed by the Queen's Anne's men, perhaps at the Curtain or at the Boar's Head. And that's pretty much all I know about it at this time. It's a thing. We're going to find out what it is, hopefully over these 2 sessions. So, reading today, the prologue, Archigallo, Second Man and 2 is...
I am Greg, and I'm near Reading in the UK.
Reading Martianus, Man and Constable is...
Constantine from sassy Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Reading Sicophant, Wife, Prentice and 1 is...
That's me, Alan in Suffolk.
Reading Peridure, Clown and Queen is...
Hello, I'm Lynn. I'm in the northwestern United States. This is Scooter, the upstager.
Reading Vigenius, Wench, Lady Elydure and Somebody is...
Hi, I'm Lois in London.
And reading Elydure, Rafe and Nobody, an interesting contradiction in terms, is...
Sarah Blake, I think, in Germany.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions. I'm also reading Morgan and Malgo. They were pretty much a double act, but I found it very difficult to make them double with the rest of the readers, so I'm just going to put on and take off silly hats. So hopefully that will be moderately clear, or at least amusingly muddled. Who knows? Anyway, without further ado, we're going to hear from the prologue. Not very long. A prologue. Prologue away, please.
A subject of no subject we present, for nobody is nothing. Who of nothing can something make? It is a work beyond the power of wit, and yet invention is rife. A moral meaning you thus must then expect, dragged on lesser than a shadow's shadow, promising nothing where there wants a tongue, promising nothing where there wants a tongue, and deeds as few be done by nobody. Yet something out of nothing we will show, to gain your loves, to whom ourselves we owe.
And thus ends that little prologue. It's one of those tongue-twisty things, and it's already taking what we've already been doing with the title of just going, play around with the concepts of nothing and something and things, and have a little dance. And that's sort of reminding me of the prologue to Supposes, which did so many uses of the word supposing and supposes that it's a fun little bit of wordplay. I mean, you can't use it. This is very much a prologue specifically for this play as well. It's not like it's a generic prologue. This is a prologue that's doing something with nothing at all, or at least nobody and somebody, as it were. I don't know if anyone's got anything to add to that. I think that's just fun bit of wordplay. Let's go into the action itself. Scene 1, enter Cornwell and Martianus.
My lord Martianus.
My lord of Cornwell.
Morrow.
Morrow.
You are sad, my lord.
You melancholy.
So, the state itself mourns in a robe of woe for the decease of Archigallo's virtues.
I understand you, noble-minded Cornwell. What generous spirit draws this British air, but droops at Archigallo's government?
And reason, Martianus. When the sun struggles to be delivered from the womb of an obscure eclipse, does not the earth mourn to behold his shine enveloped? O Corbanon, when I did close thine eyes, I gave release to Britain's miseries.
Enter Elydure.
Good morrow to Prince Elydure.
The same to you, and you. You are sad, my lords. Your hearts, I think, are frosty, for your blood seems crusted in your faces like the dew in a September morn. How fares the king? Have you yet bid good morrow to his highness?
The king's not stirring yet.
Enter Vigenius and Peridure.
Yonder's old Cornwell. Come, Vigenius. We'll have some sport with him.
Brother, content.
Good morrow to you, brother Elydure. Cornwall, good morning. Good morrow to Cornwall.
Morrow, old greybeard.
My beard's not so grey as your wit's green.
And why so?
We shall have you come out now with some reason that was born in my great-grandsire's time.
Would you would prove as honest princes as your great-grandsire was, or half so wise as your elder brother was? There's a couple of you. Sfoot, I am ashamed you should be of the blood royal.
And why, Father Winter?
You do not know your state. There's Elydure, your elder brother next unto the king. He plies his book. When shall you see him trace lascivious Archigallo through the streets, and fight with common hacksters hand to hand, to wrest from them their goods and dignities?
You are too saucy, Cornwall.
Bridle your spirit.
Your words are dangerous, good honest subject. Old reverend statesman, faithful servitor, do not traduce the king. He's virtuous. Or say he treads somewhat besides the line of virtuous government. His regality brooks not taxation. Kings' greatest royalties are that their subjects must applaud their deeds as well as bear them. Their prerogatives are mural interponents twixt the world and their proceedings.
Well, well, I have served 4 kings, and none of all those 4 but would have ventured their safeties on old Cornwall's constancy. But that's all one. Now I am called a dotard. Go to, though now my limbs be stark and stiff. When Cornwall's dead, Britain I know will want so strong a prop. Alas, I needs must weep and shed tears in abundance when I think how Archigallo wrongs his government.
Nay, now you'll fall into your tetchy humour.
Enter Lord Sicophant.
My lords, princes, I should have said, and after, lord, I am the usher and harbinger unto the king's most excellent person, and his majesty
Is forthcoming.
or coming forth, hard by or at hand. Will you put your gestures of attendance on to give his majesty the bonjour?
Enter Archigallo and 2 lords, Morgan and Malgo. Good morrow to our
sovereign Archigallo.
Morrow.
Why do you frown upon your servants, king? We love you, and you ought to favour us. Will you to council? Here's petitions, complaints, and controversies twixt your subjects, appealing all to you.
Oh, let's see those papers. Oh, a controversy betwixt the Lord Morgan and the Lord Malgo concerning their titles to the Southern Islands. We know what their cause is. Sorry, we know this cause and what their titles be. You claim it by inheritance?
My liege, I do.
You by the marriage of Lord Morgan's mother, to whom it was left jointure?
True, gracious sovereign.
Whose evidence is strongest? To which part inclines the censures of our learned judge?
We come not here to plead before your grace, but humbly to entreat your majesty peruse our evidence and censure it according to your wisdom.
What I determine then you yield unto.
We will, my lord.
So then that Southern Isle we take to our protection and make you Lord Governor thereof.
I humbly thank your highness.
I hope your majesty...
Reply not! I take it to myself because I will not have dissension betwixt 2 peers. I love to see you friends, and now the island's mine, your quarrel ends.
And we don't quite know what happens to Morgan and Malgo at that point, but we definitely know there's the entrance of the clown, Wench, and Rafe.
What's next? A poor northern man's humble petition. Which is the plaintiff?
Aye, if it please your majesty. I was betrothed to this maid.
Is this true, my wench?
Oh, 'tis very true, and like your majesty. But this tempting fellow, after that, most feloniously stole my heart away from me, and carried it into the church, and I, running after him to get my heart again, was there married to this other man.
Clown.
Lost track of who I was. 'Tis very true, and like your majesty, though Rafe were once took for a proper man, yet when I came in place it appeared otherwise. If your highness note his leg and mine, there is odds, and for a foot I dare compare. I have a waist too, and though I say it, that should not say it, there are faces in place of God's making.
Thou art a proper fellow, and this wench is thine by lawful marriage.
Rafe, you have your answer. You may be gone. Your only way to save charges is to buy a halfpenny worth of hobnails for your shoes. Alas, you might have looked into this before. Go, silly Rafe. Go away, vanish.
Is not this lass a pretty neat brown wench?
My liege, and metal, I dare warrant.
Fellow, how long hast thou been married?
I was, as they say, coupled the same day that my countryman Rafe begun the law. For, to tell your majesty the truth, we are both yet virgins, and did never freeze betwixt us two in a bed, I assure your grace.
Did never lie with your wife?
Never yet, but now your majesty hath ended the matter, I'll be so bold to take possession.
Hark, my wench, would leave these rustic fellows and stay with me.
What will your highness do with me?
Why, I'll make thee a lady.
And shall I go in fine clothes like a lady?
Thou shalt.
Ah, I'll be a lady then, that's flat. Sweetheart, farewell, I must be a lady, so I must.
Ow. Oh.
Away, you clown, away.
And has robbed me of my spouse.
What we will. Away with those slaves.
Zoons, if I ever take you in Yorkshire for this.
Away, you slaves!
And we can infer the exit of Clown, Wench and Rafe.
My lords, these general wrongs will draw your highness into the common hatred of your subjects.
What's that to thee? Oh, doting lord, forbear, what's here? Complaints against one nobody for overmuch relieving of the poor, helping distressed prisoners, entertaining extravagants and vagabonds. What fellow's this?
My liege, I know him. He's an honest subject that hates extortion, usury, and such sins as are too common in this land of Britain.
I'll have none such as he within my kingdom. He shall be banished.
My advice, my liege. I know a fellow that's opposite to nobody in all things. As he affects the poor, this other hates them, loves usury and extortion. Send him straight into the country, and upon my life, ere many months he will devise some means to make that nobody bankrupt. Make him fly his country and be heard of more.
What dost thou call his name?
His name is Somebody, my liege.
Seek out somebody. We'll send him straight. What other matters stay to be decided, determine you and you. The rest may follow to give attendance.
And exeunt all but the lords. But we're going to pause there briefly mid-scene. In a sense, there's a question of how you divide this text up into sort of mini units of action as well. Who said morality plays were dead? Because this is straight out of the morality play as a rule book of nobody's interested in the poor and helping the distressed and vagrants, but somebody's very interested in extortion and usury, etc. So, though it's doing it perhaps in a more satirical vein than maybe a morality play would have done, but yeah, we've got all sorts of interesting questions about. This is coming at the beginning of James's reign, so he's been on the throne few years now, probably, depending on precisely when you date this. So it's an interesting question about a king who makes some interesting, questionable decisions, and maybe some courtiers wandering around going, not sure the king should be doing some of these things. It's an interesting thing that it's doing there. I'm sort of enjoying this so far, but I see what the room thinks. Alan?
Feels like another one of our Toffs Behaving Badly series, which covers most of the plays we've done, I suppose.
Yes. And other thoughts? Sarah?
I did just love the wench. She was hilarious. That speech that she had about, this fellow most feloniously stole my heart away, carried it to the church, and I'm running in after him to get my heart again, then married to this other man. I just love that. It's the most brilliant excuse for not marrying somebody. It's just hilarious. And then, the king is obviously creepy and abusing his power terribly. But the fact that she's like, yeah, I'll be a lady. That sounds fine. Bye, husband. Bye. I'm assuming she's not going to reappear at any point, but that is just a brilliant little cameo role for someone. Like, you could have such fun with that. Yeah,
this question of Well, what are the terms of this? What are the terms of this arrangement, King? Are there dresses? Is there money in this? Do I get to be a lady? Okay, I'll go with that. Yep. There is a negotiation that is going on there, and that is interesting. And it bounces along in quite an interesting way. And there's all sorts of interesting little things that the text is doing. Other thoughts? Otherwise, we'll dive back into the scene to gather more data. I do particularly like the two lords saying, "We both would like this land, please." Well, as you can't agree amongst yourselves, I'll just keep it. Oh well. At least you're equally displeased with the result. So, that's justice. This king, not a great king, who is, of course, an entirely historically accurate king who definitely existed. So let us move on with the text then. The king's gone off with most of the court. He's left Cornwell and Martianus behind.
All's not already, yet these unripe ills have not their full growth, and their next degree must needs be worse than naught. And by what name do you call that?
I know none bad enough. Base, wild, notorious, ugly, monstrous, slavish, intolerable, abhorred, damnable. 'Tis worse than bad. I'll be no longer vassal to such a tyrannous rule, nor accessory to the base sufferance of such outrages.
You'll not endure it? How can you remedy a maim so dangerous and incurable?
There is a way, but walls have ears and eyes. Your ear, my lord, and counsel.
I have ears open to such discourse, and counsel apt, and to the full recovery of these wounds, made in the sick state most effectual, a word in private.
And they draw aside, we can infer, as we have the entrance of Peridure and Vigenius.
Come, brother, I am tired with reveling. My last Caranta made me almost breathless. Doth not the king's last wench foot it with art?
Oh, rarely, and beyond opinion. I like this state, where all are libertines, but by ambition's pleasure and large will. See, two of our strict-lived counsellors in secret conference. They cannot endure this freedom.
Nor the rule of Archigallo, because 'tis subject to his liberty. Are they not plotting now for some installment and change of state? Old gallants, if you be, 'twill cost your heads.
Bodies and all for me. List them. Such strict reprovers should not live their austere censures on their kings to give.
He must then be deposed.
Hey, are you there? Word sounds treason.
Hey, but farther here.
The king deposed? How must it be effected? What strengths and powers can suddenly be levied? Who will assist this business to reduce the state to better form and government?
Aye, marry, more of that.
All Cornwall's at my back. Devonshire, our neighbour, is one with us. You in the North Command. The oppressed, wronged, dejected, and suppressed will flock on all sides to this innovation. The clergy, late despised, the nobles, scorned, the commons, trod on, and the law contemned, will lend a mutual and combined power unto this happy change.
Oh, monstrous treason!
My lord, we are betrayed and overheard by the two princes.
How? Betrayed?
Discovered.
I'll help it all. Do you but sooth me up, we'll catch them in the trap they lay for us. Now, sir, the king deposed, who shall succeed?
Say Elydure.
Tush, he's too mild to rule. But there are two young princes, hopeful youths, and of rare expectation in the land. Oh, would they deign to bear this weighty charge betwixt them, and support the regal sceptre with joint assistance, all our hopes were full.
A sceptre.
And a crown.
What if we make the motion? We have wills to effect it. We have power to compass it.
And if I make refusal, heaven refuse me.
These counselors are wise and see in us more virtue than we ourselves discern. Would it were come to such election!
My honoured lord, we'll break it to these princes, those hopeful youths, at our convenient leisure.
With all my heart.
You that of our footsteps watched shall in the depth of your own wiles be catched.
Exeunt Cornwall and Martianus.
A king,
And wear a crown imperial.
and sit in state,
Command,
and be obeyed,
our nobles kneeling.
servants homaging and crying Ave.
Oh, brother, shall we through nice folly despise the proffered bounty of these lords?
Not for the world. I long to sit in state, to purse the bounty of our gracious fate,
To entertain foreign ambassadors,
and have our names ranked in the course of kings.
shadow us, state with thy majestic wings.
Enter the king, Archigallo, Cornwall, Martianus, and Elydure.
Now, sir, my brother Archigallo deposed
Deposed? Did you hear that, my lord?
for his licentious rule and such abuses as will pretend against him in Parliament.
Oh, monstrous brothers!
Oh, ambitious youths.
Thus we'll divide the land. All beyond Trent and Humber shall suffice one moiety. The south part of the land shall make the other, where we will keep two courts and reign divided, yet as dear loving brothers.
Wild traitors.
Then, Archigallo, thou hast sat in pomp and seen me vassal, shalt behold me crowned, whilst thou with humble knees veilest to my state.
And when must this be done? When shall my crown be parted and divided into halves? You reign on this side, Humber, you beyond the river Trent. When do you take your state? Sit crowned and sceptred to receive our homage, our duty, and our humble vassalage.
I know not when.
Nor you.
Nor I.
But I know when you shall but I know when you shall repent your pride. Nor will we use delays in our revenge. Ambitious boys, we doom you imprisonment. Your fallacy royal shall a jail be made. Your palace royal shall jail be made. Your thrones a dungeon and your sceptres irons, in which will bound your proud aspiring thoughts. Away with them. We will not mount our chair till their best hopes be changed to black despair.
Hear us excuse ourselves.
Or let's discover who drew us to this hope of sovereignty.
Thou shalt our further leisures arbitrate. Our ears are deaf to all exclusive pleas. Come, man, ambitious brother Elydure, help us to lavish our abundant treasures in masks, sports, revels, riots, and strange pleasures.
And they exit for some strange pleasures, as it were. So, yeah, there's a bit of plotting going on, and then sort of things go a bit wrong in the unveiling of the counter-plotting, and it all goes a bit Pete Tong for people there. But yeah, some people are not impressed with the rule that's going on here, and not surprising that. Because what are they doing? They're having a little bit of a discussion about splitting up the kingdom. As we all know from any pre-conquest semi-fictitious kings, never split the kingdom up. No, just don't do it. It's just bad. It always goes badly. Just don't divide the kingdom. You know, what would Brutus say? I mean, for goodness, yeah. So. Did he die in vain? Sorry, Lynn.
I just think this is kind of hilarious. Yeah, the wenches think I followed him to the church and ended up marrying him. This just happened. And the two courtiers plotting. It's like, oh my God, they overheard us. Well, let's pretend we're going to make them kings. and then Vigenius and Peridure just fall for it. Like, king? Oh, okay. It's treason until they want to make us kings. Oh, they're not very bright, are they?
No, they're not. But there is the question of, as I say, what precisely this play is doing. How much of this is deliberate satire? How much of this is dancing around? You know, we're at a sort of interesting pivot point when the word is starting to get out that some of these kings don't exist. So it's an interesting question. You know, a lot of people still believe that these kings exist, but they're starting to get people going, you know what? A lot of this early stuff might be fictional, and that starts to create all sorts of interesting questions that maybe this playwright is playing around with, and maybe not. It's difficult to tell. Other thoughts? Lois?
I don't know. It feels to me almost like a play for children. I mean, the thing is so simple and it's wound up so quickly, and I don't know. It has the same sort of feel as the kinds of stuff that's written for children.
Who knows? Maybe they had a TIE unit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they did. Okay. Any other thoughts on this sort of lengthy back and forth little scene? We've got a sense of the court. The court is all over the place. The king's all over the place. But they've got some strange pleasures to enjoy. So Constantine.
I'm wondering, and sometimes this is just arbitrary. The names. I mean, why these names? Is there a reason? Is there a rhyme, a reason to it? I mean, obviously somebody and nobody. That's obvious. But Archigallo.
Well, that is the name of a. I'm assuming is or at least a variant of the name of one of the Bruton line of kings. I don't know. Beyond the initial line of them, I can't remember off the top of my head. So I'm assuming that name at least is authentic, and some of the other names will be borrowed from sources. But as I say, they are more stories, shall we say, than they are true history. But I don't know precisely how many of them have been borrowed and how many of them are just sort of added on the end of a word to make them sound like yes. To make them sound old and strange, or not.
In Roman.
Yeah. Yes, I don't know. I don't quite know where they fit in the packet. That's something I might look into before the next session to try and remember where they all go, because I can't. Constantine again.
Well, it's interesting because, I was wondering who the author was, and some scholars believe it could have been Thomas Hayward, Wentworth Smith, and Albert Galls. Does anybody know anything about that?
I don't know. Everything's written by Thomas Hayward in it at some point. If it's within his, I'm sure he claimed he wrote it. I mean, he may not have actually written it. But I'm sure he'd make a stake in it. I don't know of any of the other attribution suggestions. I mean, I don't think there's anything firm for this one. But I don't know how many people have actually spent that much time looking at it beyond for other reasons. Because there are some very interesting party quirks about this. Not the least of which is costuming, of which we do have some idea what some of them looked like. But we'll adduce it from the text. But there are images available for the costuming of somebody and nobody. And it's fair to say that somebody has some body and nobody does not. Or at least there is some attempt to create more body than anything else and less body than anything else. So there is a visual element that we'll be missing here by just looking at the text. But we'll look at scene 2. Enter somebody with 2 or 3, depending on your budget, servants.
But is it true the fame of nobody for virtue, alms deeds, and for charity is so renowned and famous in the country?
Lord, sir, aye, he's talked of far and near, fills all the boundless country with applause. There lives not all in Britain one so spoke of for pity, good mind, and true charity.
Which somebody shall alter ere it be long.
You may, my lord, being in grace at court and the high favours of King Archigallo, exile this petty fellow from the land that so obscures the beauty of your deeds.
What doth this nobody?
You shall hear, my lord. Come 20 poor men to his gate at once. Nobody gives them money, meat, and drink, if they be naked, clothes. Then come poor soldiers, sick, maimed, and shot from any foreign wars. Nobody takes them in, provides them harbour, maintains their ruined fortunes at his charge. He gives to orphans, and for widows builds almshouses, spittals, and large hospitals. And when it comes in question who is apt for such good deeds, 'tis answered, nobody. Now, nobody hath entertained again, long banished hospitality, and at his board 100 lusty yeomen daily waits, whose long backs bend with weight the chains of beef and choice of cheer, whose fragments at his gate suffice the general poor of the whole shire. Nobody's table's free for travellers. His buttery and his cellar ope to all that starve with drought or thirst upon the way.
His fame is great. How should we help it?
My lord, 'tis past my reach. 'Tis you must do it, or must be left undone.
What deeds of note is he else famous for?
My lord, I'll tell you. His barns are full, and when the cormorants and wealthy farmers hoard up all the grain, he empties all his gamers to the poor, under the stretched price that the market yields. Nobody racks no rents, doth not oppress his tenants with extortions. When the king knighted the lusty gallants of the land, nobody then made dainty to be knighted, and indeed kept him in his known estate.
The slave's ambitious, and his life I hate.
How shall we bring his name in public scandal?
Thus it shall be. Use my direction. In court and country I am somebody, and therefore apt and fit to be employed. Go thou in secret, being a subtle knave, and sow seditious slanders through the land. Oppress the poor, suppress the fatherless, deny the widow's food, the starved relief, and when the wretches shall complain their wrongs being called in question, swear 'twas nobody. Rack rents, raise prices, buy up the best and choice commodities at the best hand, then keep them till their prices be lifted to their height and double rate, and when the raisers of this dearth are sought, though somebody do this, protest and swear 'twas nobody for judge and magistrate. Bring scandals on the rich, raise mutinous lies upon the state and rumors in the court, backbite and sow dissension amongst friends, quarrels amongst neighbors, and debate amongst strangers, set man and wife at odds, kindred at strife, and when it comes to question, to clear us, let every one protest and swear for one, and so the blame will fall on nobody. About it, then, if these things well succeed, you shall prevail, and we applaud your speed.
Enter nobody and the clown.
See where he comes. I will withdraw and see the event and fortunes of our last policy.
Come on, mine own servant, some news, some news. What report have I in the country? How am I talked on in the city? And what fame bear I in the court?
Oh, master, you are half hanged.
Hanged? Why, man?
Because you have an ill name. A man had as good almost serve no master as serve you. I was carried afore the constable but yesterday, and they took me up for extravagant, and asked me whom I served. I told them nobody. They presently drew me to the post, and there gave me the law of arms.
The law of arms?
Aye, as much law as their arms were able to lay on. They tickled my caliphodium. I rid post for a quarter of an hour, with switch, though not with spur.
Sure, somebody was the cause of all.
I'll be sworn to that. Somebody tickled me a heat, and that I felt. But, master, why do you go thus out of fashion? You are very hoddy-doddy, all breech.
And nobody. But if my breeches had as much cloth in them as ever was drawn betwixt Kendal and Canning Street, they were scarce great enough to hold all the wrongs that I must pocket. Fie, fie, how I am slandered through the world. Nobody keeps tall fellows at his heels, yet if you meet a crew of rogues and beggars, ask who they serve, they'll answer, nobody. Your cavaliers and swaggerers about the town that domineer in taverns swear and stare. Urge them upon some terms, they'll turn their malice to me and say they'll fight with nobody. Or if they fight and nobody by chance come in to part them, I am sure to pay for it. And nobody be hurt when they scape scot-free, and not the dastard's coward in the world, but dares about with me. What shall I do?
Do what thou wilt. Before we end this strife, I'll make thee 10 times weary of thy life.
But do you hear, master? When I have served you a year or two, who shall pay me my wages?
Why, nobody.
Indeed, if I serve nobody, nobody must pay me my wages. Therefore, I'll seek out somebody or other to get me a new service. The best is, master, if you run away, you are easy to be found again.
Why so, sir?
Marry, ask a deaf man whom he hears, he'll straight say nobody. Ask the blindest beetle, that is, whom he sees, he'll answer nobody. He that never saw in his life can see you, though you are as little as a mote. And he that never heard can hear you, though you tread softly as a mouse. Therefore, I shall be sure never to lose you. Besides, you have one commodity, master, which none hath besides you. If you should love the most fickle and inconstant wench that is in the world, she'll be true to nobody, therefore constant to you.
And thou sayest true in that, my honest servant. Besides, I am in great especial grace with the king Archigallo that now reigns in tyranny and strange misgovernment. Nobody loves him, and he loves nobody. But that which most torments my troubled soul, my name is made mere opposite to virtue, for he is only held peaceful and quiet that quarrels, brawls, and fights with nobody. He's honest held that lies with nobody's wife. And he that hurts and injures nobody, all the world sails, aye, that's a virtuous man. And though a man have done 1,000 mischiefs and come to prove the forfeit made to law, if he can prove he hath wronged nobody, no man can touch his life. This makes me mad. This makes me leave the place where I was bred 1,000 times a day to wish me dead.
And I'll pursue thee wheresoe'er thou fliest, nor shalt thou rest in England till thou diest.
Master, I would wish you to leave the country and see what good entertainment you have in the city. I do not think, but there you will be most kindly respected. I have been there in my youth. There's hospitality, and you talk of hospitality. And they talk of you, abomination to see. For their master, come to them as often as you will, 4 times a day, and they'll make nobody drink. They love to have nobody trouble them, and without good security they will lend nobody money. Come into Birchen Lane, they'll give nobody a suit, choose where he list, go into Cheapside, and nobody may take up as much plate as he can carry.
Then I'll to London, for the country tires me with exclamations and with open wrongs. Is it in the city they affect me so?
Master, there I am sure nobody may have anything without money. Nobody may come out of a tavern without paying his reckoning at his pleasure.
Enter a man meeting his wife.
That's better than the country. Who comes here?
Minion, where have you been all this night?
Why'd you ask, husband?
Because I would know, wife.
I've been with nobody.
'Tis a lie, good man. Believe her not, she was not with me.
Staying with you tonight.
Lie with me? Why, nobody.
Oh, monstrous! They would make me a whoremaster.
Well, I do not think but somebody hath been with you.
Somebody was, indeed.
God's life, husband, you do me wrong. I lay with nobody.
Well, minion, though nobody bear the blame, use it no more, lest somebody bide the shame.
I will endure no longer in this climate. It is so full of slanders. I'll to the city, and there perform the deeds of charity.
Enter second man and apprentice.
Now, you rascal, who have you been with all at the alehouse?
So I was with nobody.
Not with me.
And who was drunk there with you?
Says nobody was drunk with me.
Oh, intolerable! They would make me a drunkard too. I cannot endure any longer. I must hence. No patience with such scandals can dispense.
Well, sirrah, if I could take you so again, I'll so belabour you. Oh, neighbour, good morrow.
Good morrow.
You are sad, methinks.
Faith, sir, I have called. I have lent a friend of mine £100 and have nobody's word for the payment. Bill, no bond, nor anything to show.
Have you nobody's word? I'll assure you that nobody's a good man. A good man, I assure you, neighbour. Nobody will keep his word. Nobody's word is as good as his bond.
Hey, say you so? Bring down sorrow. If none would lend, then nobody should borrow.
Yet there's one keeps a good tongue in his head that can give nobody a good report. I am beholding to him for his praise. But since my man so much commends the city, he thither, and to purchase me a name, takes a large house of infinite receipt, there keep a table for all good spirits, and all the chimneys shall cast smoke at once. There I'll give scholars pensions, poets gold, arts their deserts, philosophy due praise, learning his merit, and all worth his meed. There I'll release poor prisoners from their dungeons, pay creditors the debts of other men, and get myself a name mongst citizens, that after times partakers of all bliss may thus record, nobody did all this. Country, farewell, whose slanderous tongues I fly. The city now shall lift my name on high.
Whither I'll follow thee with swallow's wings and nimble expedition, there to raise new brawls and rumours to eclipse thy praise. Those subtle, sly, insinuating fellows whom somebody hath sent into the country to rack, transport, extort, and to oppress, will I call home, and all their wits employ against this public benefactor, known honest for all the rumours by us sown. But howsoever, I am sworn his foe, and opposite to all his meriting deeds. This way must do, though my divining thoughts this augury amidst their changes have, that somebody will at length be proved a knave.
And exit. Okay, how many nobody and somebody gags can you pack into a scene? So much nothing. Again and again and again. And I think the thing is, actually, if it's all done at pace, then some of that's fine. I think the thing is, if you linger on any of them, I put jokingly in the chat of this, budum chish every time. But no, dear God, no, you don't want to linger on any of those. And it's the liberal dream, isn't it? It's scholars will get their pensions, poets gold, philosophers due break, all this, all these lovely things that maybe someone will pay for. They won't. Alan, then Lynn.
Just wondering, I know we're talking about Queen Anne's company, but I'm just wondering whether it was actually a boys' company previously, because a lot of the wordplay feels very much in the vein of some of the boys' company plays with reduced smart.
Off the top of my head, I don't even know who that company rightly is. So I will look at that to find out who they actually are, because this is the problem. Now we enter James, it's like everyone changes the name of their company, and it's like, I don't know who anyone is at the moment. So give me 5, I'll find out who they are. But yeah, it's easy, interesting. The way we got all these little sort of vignettes here that are sort of dancing around. They're quite nice and variations on a theme. Lynn.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said you have to do this sequence at pace, like really speed it through. I mean, this is basically who's on first, right? And that's not actually a funny routine. It's not really funny. What's funny is the way it's delivered. So this repeated sort of punning on nobody is actually a person. That sort of joke. It's not really funny. But I think if you deliver it properly, it can be entertaining. But no bum tish, no stop and say, we just made a joke. That'll kill it. I think pace is the answer.
Yes, Queen Anne's men, they were the Worcester's men. Middling tier company, apparently. That's a continuation of. That's about that. I can say. Again. One of the variously renamed titles of a company that's poodling about at the time. So there's this thing, and we got this reference at one point that nobody is a very hoddy-doddy all breech. It's a costume where the trousers are sort of basically coming up to here is the sort of logic of it. In the sense he's got no body. So we've got the head, we've got the arms, we got the trousers. Go all the way up. And somebody is much more body full. And I say there are images, you can Google them online. I'm fairly certain you'll be able to find them. It is very silly, and I think that when we were talking about TIE, for kids, the costuming of somebody and nobody is so silly. It's very hard to take it's not like a history play where you've got a serious primary plot and then you've got some lower class high jinks sort of japes going on there. No, I mean this is clearly silly, delightfully silly, I think, if done right. But yeah, it's positively, giant clown trousers walks on. But doing sort of morality play shtick, it's really interesting as a sort of combination. Okay, any other thoughts? We're rattling through this at pace. We really are. It moves fast. I mean, that's to its credit. If you're doing this kind of play, we're talking about the speed of the nobodies and the somebodies. It's got to go fast, but it seems to go quite fast as well. I mean, it's not lingering. Any stretch of the imagination. Lois.
Well, it just occurred to me that it could well have been a play for children. I mean, if they performed this at court. This is the first time in I don't know how many years that there have actually been royal children, and I think Prince Henry would have been about 10. What exactly is the date of this one?
1605-ish, somewhere. It's early James.
Yeah. So anyway, and Prince Charles would have been 5. I mean, this seems to me about the right age for this play, quite honestly.
Yeah, and also if you go, it's not unknown for the various royal households to possibly poke the bear in terms of stuff about the king. So it sort of fits. That might be a thing. Anyway. Let us go on to scene 3. I see nobody else waving. Scene 3, we're returning to court politics, he said. Enter the Queen, Sicophant, and Lady Elydure. Severally.
Good day to you both, fair ladies, but fairest of them both, my gracious Queen. Good day to your High Majesty, Madam, the royal lady of great Elydure, sovereign's brother, and to you I wish this morning prove as gracious and as good.
Those greetings from Lady Elydure would pleasingly sound in our princely ears.
Such greetings from great Archigallo's queen would be most gracious to our princely ear.
What, no good morrow, and our grace so near? Reach me my glove.
Whom speaks this woman to?
Why, to my subject, to my waiting maid. Am I not Archigallo's queen? Is not my lord the royal English king, thy husband and thyself, my servitors?
Is my coach ready? Where are all my men that should attend upon our awful throne? What, not one near?
Minion, my glove.
Madam, Her Highness' glove.
My scarf is fallen. One of you reach it up.
You hear me?
Tainted majesty, be gone. I am not to be counterchecked by any.
Shall I bear this?
Be patient, I will school her. Your excellence greatly forgets yourself to be so dutiless unto the Queen. I have seen the world. I know what 'tis to obey and to command. What if it please the Queen that you, her subject, should attend on her and take her glove up? Is it me that I should stoop for you? You're proud. Fie, you're proud. This must not be betwixt two such royal sisters as you by marriage are. Go to, submit. Her Majesty is easy to forgive.
Saucy lord, forbear. There's for your exhortation.
Strikes him.
I cannot bear this. 'Tis insufferable. I'll to the king, and if he save thy life, he shall have mine. Madness and wrath attend. My thoughts are levelled at a bloody end.
Exit the Queen.
He's shadow. We the true substance are. Follow her those that to our greatness dare themselves oppose.
Enter Cornwell, Martianus, Morgan and Malgo.
Health to your ladyship. I would say queen, if I might have my mind. Be a lady.
I have a suit unto the king with this lord for the great office of high censure, because of our good service to the state, but he in scorn as doth everything hath ta'en it from us both into a fool.
To a sycophant, a courtly parasite.
Bear witness, madam, I'll go tell the king that they speak treason.
Pass upon our swords, you old exchequer of all flattery. I tell thee, Archigallo shall be deposed, and thou disrobed of all thy dignity.
I hope not so.
See here the council's hand. Subscribe to Archigallo's overthrow. The names of 16 royal English peers joined in a league that is inviolate, and nothing wants but Elydure's grant to accept the kingdom when the deed is done.
Nay, then I'll take your parts and join with you.
We will not have a clawback's hand commixed with such heroic peers.
I hope, my lady, is not of their minds. My most gracious queen, what I did speak in reprehensive sort was more because her majesty was present than any offence of yours, and so esteem it. God knows I love thee, your highness, and these lords.
Which of you will persuade my Elydure to take upon him England's royalty?
Madam, we have also imponed him, laying onto his judgment everything that might attract his censors to the crown, but he, frost-brained, will not be obtained to take upon him this realm's government.
He is the very soul of lenity, if ever moderation lived in any. Your lord with that rich virtue is possessed.
This mildness in him makes me so despised by the proud queen and by her favourites.
Enter Elydure.
See, madam, where he comes, reading a book.
Ah, my lord and husband, with your leave, this book is fitter for a university than to be looked on, and the crown so near. You know these lords, for tyranny, have sworn to banish Archigallo from the throne and to invest you in the royalty. Will you not thank them, and with bounteous hands sprinkle their greatness with the names of earls, dukes, marquises, and other higher terms?
My dearest love, the essence of my soul, and you, my honoured lords, the suit you make, though it he just for many wrongs impose, yet unto me it seems an injury. What is my greatness by my brother's fall, but like a starved body nourished with the destruction of the other limbs? Innumerable are the griefs that wait on hoarded treasures, then much more on crowns. The middle path, the golden mean for me. Leave me obedience, take your majesty.
Why, this is worser to my lofty mind than the late checks given by the angry queen.
If you refuse it, no, we are determined to lay it elsewhere.
On your younger brother. And then, no doubt, we shall be awed indeed, when the ambition of the elder's wife can scarcely give our patience any bounds. England is sick of pride and tyranny, and in thy goodness only to be cured. Thou art called forth amongst 1,000 men to minister this sovereign antidote, to amend thy brother's cruelty with love. And if thou wilt not from oppression free thy native country, thou art wild as he.
I had rather stay his leisure to amend.
Men, heaven, gods, devils, what power should I invoke to fashion him anew? Thunder, come down, crown me with ruin, since not with a crown.
Long life unto the kingly Elydure. Trumpets proclaim it, whether he will or no.
Oh, for that conceit, lords, you have won my heart. In his despite, let him be straightways crowned, that I may triumph while the trumpets sound.
Carry me to my grave, not to a throne.
Help, lords, to seek him. Help everyone. So should the majesty of England sit, whilst we in like state do associate him.
Never did any less desire to reign than I. Heaven knows this greatness is my pain.
Pain me in this sort, great lords, every day. 'Tis sweet to rule.
'Tis sweeter to obey.
Live, King of England, long and happily. As long and happily your highness live.
We thank you, lords. Now call in the deposed. Him and his proud queen bring unto our sight, that in her wrongs we may have our delight.
Enter Archigallo and his queen bound.
Trade, ta'en prisoner, and by those that owe to me their duty and allegiance. My brother, the usurper, the crown. Oh, this is monstrous, most insufferable.
Good brother, grieve not. 'Tis against my will that I am made a king. Pray take my place. I had rather be your subject than your lord.
So had not I. Sit still, my gracious lord, whilst I look through this tyrant with a frown. Minion, reach up my glove.
Think'st thou, because thy husband can dissemble piety, and therein hath deposed my royal lord, that I am lesser in estate than queen? No, thine own answer lately given to me I must revet. Stoop thou, proud queen, for me.
Nay then, as I did lately to her highness, and to admonish you. Dejected lady, you do forget yourself, and where you are, duty is debt, and it is fit since now you are a subject to hear humble thoughts. Follow my counsel, lady, and submit. Her Majesty, no doubt, will pardon me.
There's for your pains.
And gets hit again.
Which way soe'er I go, I would hear whether it ebb or flow.
That pride of thine shall be thy overthrow, and thus I sentence them.
Leave that to me.
No, you are too mild. Judgment belongs to me. Thou, Archigallo, for thy tyranny, forever be excluded from all rule and from thy life.
Oh, not his life, I pray.
He unto whom the greatest wrongs are done, dispatch him quickly.
Oh, that will I. Or I.
And therein, lords, affect my tragedy.
I strike you not. Oh, 'tis a dangerous thing to have a living subject of a king. Much treason may be wrought, when in his death our safety is secured.
Or banish him rather. Oh, sweet, spare his life. He is my brother.
Round and pray thy way.
Oh, brother, if you roughly speak, I know there is no hope but your sure overthrow. Pray be not angry with me for my love to banishment, since it must needs be so. His life I give him, whosoe'er says no.
What, and his ladies too?
Aye, hers and all.
But I'll not have you banished with the king. No, minion, no. Since you must live, be assured I'll make the meanest of my waiting maids.
I scorn thy pride.
Farewell, deceiving state. Pride-making crown, my dearest wife, farewell. I have been a tyrant, and I'll be so still.
Exit Archigallo.
Alas, my brother.
Dry up childish tears, and to these lords that have invested you, give gracious looks and honourable deeds.
Oh, give them my crown. Oh, give them all I have. The throne I reckon but a glorious grave.
Then from myself these dignities receive. The island wrested from you I restore. See it be given them back. Lord Sicophant, the office of the seneschal bereft you, my lord of Cornwall. To your grace we give. You, Martianus, be our treasurer, and if we find you faithful, be assured you shall not want preferment at our hands. Meantime, this office we impose on you. Be tutor to this lady, and her pride, with your learned principles whereof you are full, turn to humility, or vex her soul.
Torment on torment, tutored by a fool.
Madam, 'tis her highness' will. Be pleased.
Young Peridure and Vigenius, lords, release from prison, and because your king is mightily affected unto York, thither dismiss the court incontinent.
Shall it be so, my liege?
Are we not king? His silence says it, and what we ordain who dares make question of? This day forever through our reign be held a festival, and triumph, lords, that England is set free from a vile tyrant and his cruelty.
On to our funeral. 'Tis no matter where. Aye, sin I know in suffering pride so near.
And they exit. Well, there's a lot of fun here. I'd have to say Archigallo's exit line just I've been a tyrant and I'm not gonna stop. Okay, I've lost all my power. Yeah. I also love Elydure just turning to his wife, going, "No, that's my job." And she's going, "No, you're not very good at it. Stop it." And clearly doesn't want the job at all. It's sort of foisted on him, and I'm very much warming to Lois's idea that this is for children, but I'm starting to think it's more leaning towards Alan's, even though it wasn't a child's company. I see it today. There's something about it that is like children making fun of adults' stuff. There's something very childlike about it, and I like that about it because it's just so. This is what plotting's sort of like, isn't it? You do this, and then people do that, and then you go off, and then you get put in exile, and it's all nonsense, really, isn't it? And you could argue that's sort of what it's saying about this element of history. I did start to try and figure out where this fits in the line of things. It's several generations after Gorboduc when the Civil War and everything really turns to start, and then it's just a load of names doing stuff. They're brothers and sons and things, and it's just interminable and never-ending series of people. So I'll get into that at some point, but not today. But yeah. And in fact, a lot of the names seem to be lifted from Geoffrey of Monmouth and his followers. It is doing history, Jim.
We know it.
Well, not as we know it, but as a reasonable amount of what people might have known then. But it's also just going. It does seem to be actively going, this history lark, it's nonsense, isn't it? At the same time. As a genre, perhaps, as well. Just going, history plays, it's just a load of people just going, and we got this striking back and forth. I do like the sycophant just constantly getting slapped. It's a cheap gag, but I do really like it. That's
what
original.
One does with sycophants.
Yeah. So yeah, fun stuff there. Lynn.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by the exchange between Lady Elydure and the Queen. I was not expecting Elydure's wife to be so different from him ethically and temperamentally. I kind of expected them to be a pair. And often in early modern drama, the women are basically kind of better people than the men in general. So the fact that Lady Elydure is really just as bad as everybody else, and Elydure is kind of the only. Well, no, the Cornwell and Martianus seem to be decent people, but yeah, that like Elydure chose poorly when he married, evidently, because she's ambitious and proud and rude.
Well, she's much more in step with the court as it was, whereas Elydure is sort of going, in that kind of court, you're thinking he's not going to live long, is he? It's he's just sort of bumbling about. I mean, how much agency does Elydure really have? He just seems to be going, "Ooh, am I king now? I don't really want to be king."
He comes in with a book. Bad sign.
Yes.
Words.
Alan.
No, I was just thinking that Sicophant probably is muffled on many of his speeches because he's so far crawling to whoever he's talking to.
And to have a character just called Sicophant, I mean, it's not a name, it's a determination, and whereas other characters have proper names, as it were, he is just there to be, that is his function. And actually, the stage direction will give him a slightly different name at one point as well, or sort of derivation for what his function is in the plot, not a different name, as it were. It doesn't. That's not new information per se. So yeah, other thoughts before we go into scene 4 as we return to our nobody and somebody plot. I mean, the two plots are connected in the sense they're vaguely in the same universe, but they so far haven't interacted particularly. Okay. We'll go into scene 4 then. Enter Nobody and the Clown. Who's Nobody? Is Nobody
Sarah?
Nobody?
I am sorry. I'm having trouble with my internet connection. It keeps dropping in and out. Right. Okay. It seems to be back now.
I'd hate to have nobody to be nobody. That would be awful. I mean, that'd be really awkward. I'd have to have somebody to be nobody, but somebody's already somebody else.
Oh,
so.
That would blow everybody's mind.
You see, this is the gag that just keeps on giving. I'm just doing it. It's actually really fun to do. So hopefully the audience would agree. Anyway, Sarah, scene 4, Enter Clown and Nobody.
Boy, And nobody is sound yet for all his troubles.
And so is nobody's man for all his whipping. But, master, we are now in the city, walled about from slander. There cannot lie come in, but it must run through brick, or get the goodwill of the warders, whose brown bills look blue upon all passengers.
This city, if nobody lived to be as old again, be it spoken in secret, I'll have fenced about with a wall of brass.
Of nobody's making, that will be rare.
I'll bring the Thames through the middle of it, empty Moorditch at my own charge, and build up Paul's steeple without a collection. I see not what becomes of these collections.
Why, nobody receives them.
I, knave?
You, knave, or as the world goes, somebody receives all, and nobody is blamed for it.
But is it rumoured so throughout the city?
Do not you know that? There's not an orphan's portion lost out of the chamber, but nobody has got it. Nor corn transported without warrant, but nobody has done it. No goods stolen, but by nobody. No extortion without nobody. But that the truth will come to light. Few wenches got with child, but with nobody.
Nay, that's by somebody.
I think somebody had a hand in it, but nobody sometimes pays for the nursing of it.
Indeed, I have taken into my charge many a poor infant left to the arms of the wide world. I have helped many a virtuous maid to a good husband, and ne'er desired her maidenhead, redeemed many gentlemen's lands that have thanked nobody for it, built pest houses and other places of retirement in the sickness time for the good of the city, and yet nobody cannot get a good word for his labour.
'Tis a mad world, master.
Yet this mad world shall not make me mad. I am all spirit, nobody. Let them grieve that scrape for wealth, I will the poor relieve. Where are the masters of the several prisons within and ne'er adjoining to the city, that I may spread my charity abroad?
Here they be, sir.
And enter 3 or 4.
Welcome, gentlemen. You are they that make poor men householders against their wills, and yet do them no wrong. You have the actions and the cases of your sides, whilst your tenants in common want money to fill them. How many gentlemen have less revenues than nobody lie in your night's ward for want of maintenance?
I am, sir, the keeper of the counter, and there are in our wards above 100 poor prisoners that are like to come forth without satisfaction.
But nobody will be their benefactor. What in yours?
Double the number, and in the gale.
Talk not of the gale, 'tis full of lime twigs, lifts, and pickpockets.
Is it your pleasure, sir, to free them all?
All that lie in for debt.
£10,000, and 10 to that will not do it.
Nobody, sir, will give 100,000, 10,000,000. Nobody will not have a prisoner, because they all shall pray for nobody.
'Tis a great pity my master has nobody, and so kind a heart.
A noise within of follow, follow, follow!
What outcry's that?
Enter somebody with 2 or 3.
This is the gallant. Apprehend him straight. 'Tis he that sows sedition in the land under the colour of being charitable. When search is made for such in every inn, though I have seen them housed, the chamberlain for gold will answer, there is nobody. He for all bankrupts is a common bail, and when the execution should be served upon the sureties, they find nobody. In private houses, who so apt to lie as those that have been taught by nobody? Servants, forgetful of their master's friends, being asked how many were to speak with him whilst he was absent, they say nobody. Nobody breaks more glasses in a house than all his wealth have power to satisfy. If you will free this city then from shame, seize nobody, and let him bear the blame.
Lay hold upon him!
What? On nobody? Give me my sword, my morglay, my friends. You that do know how innocent I am, draw in my quarrel. Succour nobody. What? nobody but nobody remaining.
Yes, master, nobody's man.
Stand to me nobly then, and fear them not. Thy master nobody can take no wounds, nobody is no coward, nobody dares fight with all the world.
On them then.
And there's a extravagant fight sequence that presumably occurs there. And nobody runs away.
What, hath he escaped us?
He is gone, my lord.
It shall be thus. Now you have seen his shape. Let him be straight imprinted to the life. His picture shall be set on every stall, and proclamation made that he that takes him shall have 100 pounds of somebody. Country and city I shall thus set free, and have more time to work my villainy.
Everybody exits, and nobody appears from wherever they've been hiding.
What? Are they gone? Then, city, now adieu. Since I have taken such great injury for my good life within thy government, no more will nobody be charitable, no more will nobody relieve the poor. Honour your lord and master somebody, for somebody is he that wrongs you all. I'll to the court. The changing of the air may peradventure change my injuries, and if I speed no better being there, yet say that nobody lived everywhere.
And exit nobody. And so, yes, he's gone from the country, didn't have any fun there. Went to the city, had no fun there. He's going to the court. I'm sure it'll all be perfectly fine there. Yes, the A plot and the B plot are going to meet. There's the coalescing of things. We get some physical action. We get fighting. We get the outcries. We get action. Yeah, on top of the nobody somebody gags, we get some actual stuff actually happening within the subplot, which is nice to break up that thing. Because yes, there is a danger here that this. I'd say it's really fun when you're doing it, when you're just sort of riffing on it. It's actually quite enjoyable. I wonder if it's a writer thing more than a actor audience thing. I think this play was, may have had some success, so it's difficult to tell. So maybe it's the way you tell them. Sarah.
Yeah, I think actors could have so much fun with this, honestly.
Yes, but would the audience? It's possible the actors to have a lot of fun with
That's debatable. That's debatable. But I don't think it's purely a writer's piece, because I think the actors could have an absolute hoot with this. And yeah, no, I think they could. I think, provided it was, because it's very breezy, this. I mean, it skips along. It's absolutely ridiculous. But then I've lost count of the shows that I've seen over the years that I've just thought, oh my God, but everyone else is roaring with laughter. So yeah, I think provided it was, given a light touch, I think the audience would have fun, but the actors definitely would.
It's really interesting. This is a really good example of how the length of a text does not necessarily translate to how long it takes to perform it, because we're doing more than we would normally do in a session. In terms of actual word count, and yet we're nearly done, and we're massively underrunning from our normal session length. So it's just this thing. Sometimes some plays just move fast. Maybe we haven't discussed it as much as we could in between. But yeah, and there aren't that many individual scenes per se. There are sort of more units of action, but it's really interesting that difference in sometimes how fast something reads and how fast other stuff doesn't, and how much fun you can have along the way. So yeah, I'm revising my running time for this down and down and down. This is not a long play. Unless you can find more physical business or stuff. I mean, it depends how long the fight goes on for. I suppose it could be an incredibly elaborate fight. It really depends on how somebody with no body fights. That could be really interesting. He's got his man assisting, and we've got this question of how many additional people. Enter 3 or 4. Enter 2 or 3. So it's interesting how big this fight could be. So there could be a lot of fun to be had with that. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, you could see this almost as being a good text for a youth theatre group to play with. Lots of little parts, lots of opportunities to just do your quick bit and off,
Well, I mean, it was interesting because it was just when we were sort of talking about, the sort of that element of it feels like some young people sort of making fun of things adults do, but then I also kind of think that if you don't get the skilled performers, the older, more experienced performers, that it would probably fall flat, and it needs that sort of a youthful air to it, but it doesn't need to necessarily be done, and a light air to it rather than literally the young. But it could work. Other thoughts before we go into our final scene in the session, Emma?
Yeah, I was just thinking a bit more about the characterization that we were talking about. I think Sarah started doing it in the reading. I'm kind of imagining nobody is having this very kind of light, wispy voice, and then somebody having like a really meaty, rich voice, as well as obviously all of the costuming and characterization as well. But I'm imagining, extremely bold characterizations to have fun with.
Yeah, and it also sort of plays with our ideas of, we've talked before about, what's the clown part? Well, this is a play with several clown parts. Clearly, I mean, technically, probably everybody's a clown part. I mean, there isn't really a potentially. I mean, it depends on how straight back you play the primary court material. But, nobody and somebody are also accompanied by someone called clown. I mean, what does the clown? Who is the clown apart from a servant type person? It's not actually desperately helpful as a descriptor. And we've and somebody's sort of got a servant character, but they're not quite so obviously delineated. There's a lot of bodies, as it were, bouncing around in the comedy department here. It's a joke that's just going to keep on giving, isn't it? Another 10 viewers drops off at this point in the video. If you're still with us. Okay. Let's go on to scene 5 then. We're going to find out what's going on with the old king, as it were. Enter Archigallo.
I was a king, but now am I a slave. How happy were I in this base estate if I had never tasted royalty. But the remembrance that I was a king unseasons the content of poverty. I hear the hunter's music. Here I'll lie to keep me out of sight till they pass by.
Ah, yes, indeed. Enter Morgan and Malgo. The stag is herded. Come, my lord. Shall we to horse and single him again? Content, the king will chase, the day is spent, and we have killed no game. To horse! Away! Exeunt Morgan and Malgo. Enter Elydure.
Herded? Go single him or couple straight. He will not fall today. What fellow's this?
I am a man.
A banished man, I think. My brother Archigallo! It's not so.
'Tis so. I am thy brother Elydure. All that thou hast is mine. The crown is mine. Thy royalty is mine. These ain't hunting pleasures thou dost usurp. Ambitious Elydure, I was a king.
And I may be a wretch. Poor Archigallo! The sight of thee, that wert my sovereign in this estate, draws rivers from mine eyes. Will you be king again? If they agree, I'll redeliver all my royalty, save what a second brother and a subject keeps in a humble bosom. For I swear the crown is yours that Elydure doth wear.
Then give it me. Use not the common slights to pity one and keep away his right. Seest thou these rags? Should they become my person, and adjure take pity on my state, let me not still live thus infortunate.
Alas, if pity could procure your good instead of water, I'd weep tears of blood to express both love and pity. Oh, say, dear brother, I should uncrown myself. The angry peers will never let me reach the imperial wreath to Archigallo's head. There's ancient Cornwell, stark Martianus, Morgan, and bold Malgo, from whom you took the pleasant southern isle. Will never kneel to you. What should I say? Your tyranny was the cause of your decay.
What? Shall I die then? Welcome be that fate, rather than still live in this wretched state.
Enter Cornwell, Martianus, Morgan and Malgo.
Yonder's the king, my sovereign. You have lost the fall of a brave stag. He's dead, my liege. What fellow's this?
Knowest him not, Cornwell?
No, my liege, not I.
I am thy king.
'Tis Archigallo, man.
Thou art no king of mine. Thou art a traitor. Thy life is forfeit by thy stay in Britain. Wert thou not banished?
Noble Cornwell, speak more gently, or my piteous heart will break. Lord Martianus, Morgan, and the rest, I am aweary of my government and willingly resign it to my brother.
Your brother was a tyrant, and my knee shall never bow to wrong and tyranny.
Yet look upon his misery. His tears argue repentance. Think not, honoured lords, the fear of dangers waiting on my crown makes me so willing to resign the same, for I am loved, I know. But justice bids. I make a resignation. 'Tis his right. My cause but usurpation.
Elydure, if you are weary of your government, we'll set the crown upon a stranger's head rather than Archigallo. Hark ye, lords, shall we make him our king? We did depose. So might our heads be chopped off. I'll lose mine, ere my poor country shall endure such wrongs as that injurious tyrant plagues her with.
Keep still your crown, my liege. Happy is Britain under the government of Elydure.
Let it be so. Death is the happy period of all woe. The wretch that's torn upon the torturing rack feels not more devilish torment than my heart. When I but call to mind my tyranny, I record heaven, my lords, my brother's sight, the pity that he takes of my distress. Your love and true allegiance unto him hath wrought in me a reconciled spirit. I do confess my sin and freely say I did deserve to be disposed.
Alas, good prince, my honourable lords, be not flint-hearted. Pity Archigallo. I know his penitential words proceed from a remorseful spirit. He engaged my life upon his righteous government. Good Cornwell, gentle Martianus, speak. Shall Archigallo be your king again?
By heaven, I not desire it.
Oh, but see, my lords, he's not ambitious. As thou lovest me, Cornwell, as thou didst love our father, let his son be righted. Give him back the government you took from him.
What should I say? Faith, I shall fall a-weeping. Therefore speak you.
Lord Martianus, speak.
What say these lords that have been wronged by him? Elydure, or Britain shall be engaged to you, that Archigallo will never more oppress you, nor impose wrong on the meanest subject in the land.
Then we'll embrace his government.
Says Malgo so?
I do, my lord.
What says Martianus?
Faith, as my lord of Cornwell.
I say that I am sorry he was bad, and now I'm glad he's changed. His wickedness we punished, and his goodness, there's great reason, should be rewarded. Therefore, Lord, set on to York then, to his coronation.
Then happy Elydurus, happy day that takes from me a kingdom's cares away.
And happy Archigallo, that have ranged from sin to sin, now at last unchanged. My lords and friends, the wrongs that you have seen in me, my future virtue shall redeem. Come, gentle brother, pity that should rest in women most is harboured in thy breast.
And they exit. Wow, that scene's doing a lot of work, isn't it? I mean, look at him. Look, he's all sad. Should we give him the crown back? Because look, he's all feelings. He's so sad face. We need to do something. Or read it another way. Elydure, I really hate being king. Can we just make him king again? I just want to, go out the back and play tiddlywinks. I don't want to do the king thing anymore. It's just so ridiculous. I love it. I absolutely love it. And it is that again. It's it's an interesting question. We've had this about various stories, that were literature that get turned into plays, or history that where events, and this is sort of both, where the stories don't have a proper motivation for things happening. Stuff just happens, and when you try to turn them into drama, people have to do things for reasons because plot. And that's sort of what this is doing here. It's sort of going, well, in theory, this is what the history says, but it's clearly nonsense, isn't it? I mean, really? Would they do this? This is give us a better... And it doesn't give us a better reason. It just says everybody has to be convinced of this rubbish reason. And we've got these two lords, Morgan and Malgo, and I'm just going, why are they here? Please do something in the second half, because... they're impossible to double, and they don't seem to do anything at all apart from just be there. And I'm just thinking we could get rid of them and just give their little the argument they had earlier is sort of important, but I'm sure we could reassign something to somebody else to make that function, because I'm just going, they're just annoying me on a structural level. They may do something in the second half, so they may be set up anyway. Sarah.
You know me, I'm all for cutting characters usually, but I'm actually going to stick up for these two because I think they're hilarious. They're sort of like Tweedledee and Tweedledum. And
we've already got that. There's nobody and somebody.
But it's like you have to have them in sort of matching outfits coming on and finishing each other's sentences. I think they just add to the this just the silliness, the mayhem of it. I think they're really funny. I just wanted to say though as well, I cannot wait to find out what happens when Lady Elydure discovers that she's no longer queen. Yeah. It's like I'm really looking forward to that scene.
Well, yes, literally.
How many times is the sycophant going to get smacked?
Yeah, next scene, literally, Lady Elydure and Queen. So that hopefully you will not. Your hopes will not be dashed.
Where's my glove? Where's my glove?
Concussion tests for Sicophant.
Somebody else has the padded helmet tomorrow.
Yeah, it's make sure you're wearing your box, and go forward. Other thoughts, Lois?
Yeah, it almost seems to me it's also written in a sort of basic English. I mean, I haven't really checked on it, but it does strike me the vocabulary is quite simple. Again, sort of in keeping with my idea that this is written to be played for children. It just seems to me it's all, he is bad, he is good. I am really sad. I don't know, just everything at a simple level.
Yes, but but it is also not. I mean, it's quite hard to write in that sort of way. I mean, it's not simple writing in the sense that we think the author is inherently bad. It's just keeping everything down to essentials. Because it does bounce along, and it has a nice flow to it. I agree. It's so easily open, honest face delivery kind of thing here. He's so sad. Look at poor Archigallo. Do we think he's repentant? Do we think he's actually repentant?
And Cornwell's in tears. Oh gosh.
Yeah. I feel we're gonna have to buy onions by the cartload just to get the reactions out of people. It's just oh, we're so sad. We're so sad. So, yes. I'm really enjoying it. I'm still not really sure what this is doing, but it's fun. Constantine.
Well, I'm intrigued or interested in Lady Elydure. I mean, I know she's there for comedic effect, but I'm wondering if she's doing something more. I'm just reading into it. I don't know. I mean, yes, she's ambitious and she reminds me of someone. But is there more to her than just that? I mean, I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, and there is more data that we'll be able to get on her, because she doesn't disappear as a character. In fact, very few characters disappear. I think over the run of things, I'm sort of looking ahead at general sort of shape of things. It's a very tight unit. I mean, it's not a small cast, but it's a fairly tight unit of primary characters, and then occasional random walk-ons. So it's not too tricky in that sense. Morgan. I know what Morgan and Malgo are doing. They're everybody's servant and random Prentice, who man and wife who wander in and out. I know that in a sense is probably very straightforward. Other thoughts while I'm looking something up. Someone wave. You want to. Otherwise, Sarah.
I have thoughts. They're pretty much final thoughts, though. Are we?
Yes, we can start. We can start
yet?
our final thoughts, Sarah.
Yeah. So I, like Lois, I also thought this was kind of very much for kids, acted by adults, I think, not children, because it does require a certain amount of skill to pull off this kind of thing and make it fun. But certainly for kids. And I am one of my little corners of nerdery is I'm really into paper and miniature theatres. And it just ever since we started this, I've just been seeing each scene in my head, like being played on a paper theatre. And I think you could have such fun creating this as like a paper theatre show, and then you could kind of film it and put it on YouTube. Or kind of the other thing you could do with it is actually set it up in like a Punch and Judy style booth. I think it would work really, really well. I mean, I know puppets get used a lot in theatre these days, and it's very kind of it's sort of quite complex, and it's done really well and very seriously and all the rest of it. But actually, just to take it down to the basic level and have all these kind of larger than life characters who, you know, just keep popping up and crying, and then he's king, and then oh no, he's king, and then she's going to hit him, whack, and then someone else is going to hit him, whack, and it, you know, I just think it could really lend itself very well to that sort of really sort of fun, basic type of theatre that, you know, is you know, with certainly with paper theatre, and to a degree with Punch and Judy as well. It was sort of ostensibly aimed at kids, but a lot of it is kind of actually, you know, there's a lot, especially with paper theatre, there's a lot for adults to enjoy there as well, and the kind of to kind of make it really silly in a satirical way and actually put it in that format, I think would just be a hoot.
Emma, any final thoughts?
Not too much to add. I'm really enjoying this, same as most people here, I think. I think as an actor, what excites me most is the opportunity for bold characterization. And it would work with a large ensemble, but I think it would also be really fun with a small ensemble and crazy multi-role, because there are so many cameo parts. You could have so much fun just making all these diverse, larger than life characters and running around and changing hats. And I love that kind of theatre. That's my kind of thing. That's where my mind's gone.
Well, I have to say, though I was doing the Morgan and Malgo changing hat thing, there's part of me just tempted to just have them painted down the middle to, you know, literally turn around on stage, you know, do the full the full Tommy Cooper routine. If we're going that level of silliness with the thing, then that might be an interesting option. That might, however, be what is termed really self-indulgent, which is what potentially some of the comedy of this is. And again, it's always the danger of the cast enjoy it more than the audience. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's a romp. It certainly moves at a heck of a pace. I don't think anybody's going to learn any history from it.
It's a documentary. It's all true.
And at least it's not misleading history, as we've recently seen. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. I do wonder whether the simplicity of the language is possibly, in part, aimed at people who were not native English speakers. You know, I'm not quite sure how good the Jamesian court was in terms of use of English rather than the Scots dialects.
Well, that actually raises an interesting side issue, which is plays that get translated, of which I think this is one that turns up in translation on the continent. So I could be wrong off the top of my head that this is one of them, but I'm fairly certain that this actually does get not only printed in but printed in other languages. So I need to double check that. I may have just said a lie, but I don't think I have. I'm fairly certain I'm correct. So tangentially, an interesting point, which creates all sorts of interesting questions about textual transmission, which is really above our pay grade. But maybe not above others. Constantine, any final thoughts?
Okay, great.
Well, as I said, I'm fascinated with Lady Elydure, but I just realized this sort of power struggle or lack of between or amongst brothers, because these are I think there's several brothers. Then we're going to meet more brothers later on. So the brother and the king and his brother, and then I mean, very uncharacteristically, oh, I don't want it, you take it. I mean, is that a comment? Is that mocking monarchy? I doubt it, but I just find that interaction between the brothers interesting, and as we'll see, they go back and forth, and I find that an interesting dynamic, and I am enjoying the play, needless to say.
It's a bit like Pass the Parcel, isn't it? Again, as we're leaning into that sort of childlike quality to it, it's like, and the music stopped. You're it. I don't want it anymore. I don't want to play with the crown. So yeah. Lynn. Sorry, say again.
Hot potato.
Yes. Yes, I suppose it is more hot potato. Elydure doesn't want the hot potato. Well. Archigallo obviously likes warm hands. Lynn, any final thoughts?
Yeah, when Sarah said something about one of her various avenues of nerdism, I thought she was going to say her interest in folklore, because this has a little bit of that fairy tale folklore feel to me, because people's motivations are so shallow. Like, why did Hansel and Gretel's father consent to have them abandoned in the woods? Because his wife forced him. Okay, so people do what they do because they do what they do. So it has a little feeling of like oral transmission, a ballad, a fairy tale kind of thing. And my obsession is with genre, and I can't name a genre that this belongs to. It's not a history play in the sense that the True Tragedy is a history play, or that or even that the Lear, the anonymous Lear, which is actually a romance. So one would need to design this in a way that made it clear to the audience that this is not, this is not Edward II. This is not, this is not even the famous victories. This is this fairy tale. This is a story of good kings and bad kings, and a sort of maybe idealized or sort of cartoony medieval look. If you Google Elydure or Nobody and Somebody, there are images of the frontispiece or the cover of the quarto version of this play, and indeed Nobody has this big balloony breeches that go up to his collar. It's really quite amusing. So yeah, it's silly. It's sort of if morality plays in a ballad and a fairy tale had a child. So the one challenge would be signaling to your audience how to engage with it. If you did that successfully, though, it's really pretty cute.
Lois, and then I'll pop around for extras.
Right. Well, no, I find it quite amusing too, and I suppose one way of indicating the context might be to have some child brought in fact, and seated in a kind of spectator position, possibly with a little coronet on his head, and then play the whole thing at him with a general air of, this is how kings should be, and this is how kings shouldn't be, and here is somebody good, and here is somebody bad. I mean, in other words, really spell it out, and because it's already practically written like that anyway.
Alan.
Yeah, I think if one looks for a genre for this, an entertainment is about all you can do. I was thinking musical, but there's probably too much plot for your average musical.
Well, we haven't actually had any music cues, so it's but yeah, I mean, I'm sure we could throw some in. But yeah, I mean, it's got a plot. I mean, it's very odd. It's not very complicated. But we do have these two plots that are sort of going to intersect, and it's an interesting question how that's going to happen, which we'll find out next time, I suppose, when we find out more from the adventures of Nobody and Somebody. If you've enjoyed watching people reading this, maybe you'd like to read along. There are sign-up sheets for every week. We do several sessions a week if we can manage it, and it's open to anyone. You too can be one of us. One of us. Yes, you can join in if you so desire. Depending on who's in the room, we just hand out parts. Anyone can read. Come and join us if you wish. But until that time comes, all that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. I have been a tyrant, and I'll be so still.